Welcome to the Runway, where we cover current events in crypto, Web3, and tech. Today's Runway covers BlackRock's plans for an Ethereum ETF, the possibility the SEC moves to greenlight all 12 spot Bitcoin ETF applications, Gary Gensler pumping FTT tokens, and some cool new AI integrations and products like Humane's AI Pin. It's Thursday, November 9th. Let's take off. First up, we have BlackRock's Ethereum ETF plan is confirmed in Nasdaq filing. BlackRock wants to create an ETF that holds Ethereum's Ether, a plan that deepens the world's largest asset manager's commitment to cryptocurrencies. Following the news, ETH's price surged to its highest level of the day, near 2100, up about 3% just before the filing came out. It later gave back about half that gain, though it remains up about 9% versus 24 hours earlier. The company's plan was revealed in a filing by Nasdaq, the U.S. exchange where BlackRock will seek to list the product, which will need regulatory approval. Earlier Thursday, it emerged that the corporate entity, iShares Ethereum Trust, had been registered in the state of Delaware. iShares is the name of BlackRock's ETF division. BlackRock has already made waves in crypto by seeking to list a Bitcoin ETF, the sort of easy-to-trade product that could dramatically broaden access to average investors. CEO Larry Fink has become a vocal supporter of crypto, reversing his previous skepticism. According to the filing, US-based crypto exchange Coinbase would be the custodian for the Ether held by the product, while an unnamed third party would hold its cash. I think that an Ethereum ETF is largely inevitable here. Once the Bitcoin ETFs are approved, I think the spot Ethereum ETFs will be very quickly right behind them. I don't think there's any legitimate reason why the SEC or anybody could sort of hold that back. Let's move on to our next story here, which encapsulates all of these 12 Bitcoin ETF filings that have been filed. It looks like the SEC has a window here to approve all 12 spot Bitcoin ETFs to begin today. So the United States Securities and Exchange Commission could approve all 12 of the pending spot Bitcoin exchange-traded funds ETF applications within the next 8 days. Bloomberg ETF analysts James Seyffart and Eric Balchunas wrote that starting from November 9th in the United States, the SEC has a window to approve all 12 spot Bitcoin ETF filings, including Grayscale's conversion of its GBTC trust product in the days leading up to November 17th, but stressed this was only a possibility. And if we go to X here and look at James's tweet, we'll see that he says, new research note from me today. We still believe 90% chance by January 10 for spot Bitcoin ETF approvals, but if it comes earlier, we are entering a window where a wave of approval orders for all the current applicants could occur. So as I've been saying the past week or two, I think that the ETF approvals are likely going to come sooner rather than later. I think the SEC has largely lost in court. I think the judicial system has spoken and really saying that what the SEC is doing is arbitrary and capricious, and there's really no reason for them to be denying essentially much safer spot ETFs when they've already approved futures ETFs that rely on the same pricing mechanisms. So hopefully we'll see this arbitrary and capricious behavior come to an end by the SEC, and we'll see some ETF approvals. I think the SEC needs a win. There's a lot of negative sentiment in the U.S. and a lot of very high disapproval with what they've been doing. So I think sooner rather than later, this may be a little bit of a contrarian take, where I think a lot of people are looking at 2024. I personally believe that we're going to see something probably a little bit sooner, although I could be wrong. Let's move along to our next story here. And my favorite, SEC's Gensler hints he's open to FTTX reboot under proper leadership. Gensler is now pumping FTT tokens. If we come over here, we can see that FTT token jumps 90% on Gensler's comments. Do it within the law, Gensler said in relation to reports of buyers emerging for the failed crypto exchange. Somewhat notable here, it looks like Tom Farley, the former president of the New York Stock Exchange, is now in the running to buy the bankrupt cryptocurrency exchange founded by now convicted fraudster Sam Bankman Fraud. If Tom or anybody else wanted to be in this field, I would say do it within the law, Gensler said in an interview at DC FinTech Week on November 8th. He added, build the trust of investors in what you're doing and ensure that you're doing the proper disclosures, and also that you're not commingling all these functions, trading against your customers, or using their crypto assets for your own purposes. Farley is the CEO of cryptocurrency exchange Bullish, which was founded in 2021. Statement for Mr. Gensler that I agree with. You definitely want to build the trust of investors, and proper disclosures are important. Definitely we don't want to be commingling. No exchange should be commingling user funds and doing all these different things with other operations. Totally, crazy behavior. But I also disagree with what Mr. Gensler said here, that do it within the law and, basically acting like everything's clearly laid out when it clearly isn't. And, it's sad because, we really could use some regulatory clarity for many of these centralized entities, which takes us to our next story, which kind of dives into this a little bit. Navigating the post-FTX era, how crypto trading platforms must adapt. Because this article by Ian Weisberger kind of talks a little bit about the path forward here, what we can do to sort of make things better, especially for centralized entities. We talk about, certain regulatory things that can happen, the landscape of crypto trading and its associated platforms is currently experiencing substantial regulatory adoption and perception changes. The industry has been in what post-FTX era for about a year, during which we have seen some escalating pressures to adapt. Today, the crypto trading landscape is witnessing heightened institutional involvement, intensified regulatory examination, and rapid advancements in technology. The path ahead for crypto trading platforms involves numerous challenges, but also opportunities for those platforms that can and are willing to adapt and innovate. This is largely a good thing. Kind of what we're seeing here. And we're seeing, after the fire, it clears out the landscape and you have, new, fresh, nice growth. And we're seeing the same thing happen in our industry. In the wake of FTX, regulatory concerns have intensified, spotlighting the need for stricter oversight of exchanges, enhanced consumer protection, and a global standard to curb regulatory arbitrage. Stricter controls for centralized exchanges, largely a great idea. Any entity that's acting like a bank or holding multiple customers' funds and custodying those funds, and essentially has bearer control. They technically control that asset on a centralized manner. Very important that we have strong regulations in place for those centralized operators and protect consumers. So there's a strong agreement there with in relation to centralized products as opposed to decentralized products. So it's very important, and a lot of people just don't really understand the distinction. I think Congress and regulators and people like Mr. Gary, I think would go a long way to fully try to understand these things, especially our Congress people. Easing traders in, one particular improvement is crafting easier and more intuitive interfaces that cater to all levels of traders, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. One feature that exchanges increasingly provide are educational resources, which can serve as an invaluable tool for novices by helping to demystify the complex terminology and array of trading tools that often intimidate those new to the crypto space. Educational guides or tutorials should also emphasize risk management strategies to better help empower traders make informed investment decisions. Trading in the crypto market operates around the clock in a stark contrast to traditional Wall Street hours. This constant activity, coupled with a high entry barrier due to industry jargon and the high level of risk most digital assets presents, makes education indispensable for onboarding and retaining newcomers. Also, they have a little bit of talk about interoperability and automation, but I think the talk about easing traders in and educational stuff, I think those are all great ideas, full disclosures, intuitive interfaces. I think Coinbase, for example, does a great job at this. They have different sort of tiers for investors where, they're just their simple Coinbase basic product. Regular Coinbase for personal accounts is much more simple. There's a lot of educational resources there. And sort of as you move up the tech stack to intermediate and sort of institutional, you get more complex layouts and trading exchange features and interfaces, which I think is pretty cool. So there's obviously other great companies that are doing great things, but let's give credit where credit is due. Let's move on to our next story here. Saw this pop up, thought it was kind of interesting. U.S. lawmakers established Clarity Act to shut down federal ties to Chinese blockchain. So U.S. Representative Zach Nunn and Abigail Spanberger have introduced the Clarity Act of 2023, a bill aimed at prohibiting federal officials from transacting with Chinese blockchain companies to safeguard national security interests, commonly known as the Clarity Act. The proposed legislation targets a very contemporary issue: the engagement between U.S. federal officials and Chinese blockchain entities. If enacted, the act will unequivocally prohibit federal government employees from using Chinese blockchain networks and from transacting with certain Chinese companies, including iFinex, the parent company of Tether, a well-known cryptocurrency stablecoin issuer. This is kind of interesting. Obviously, U.S. lawmakers and people in the government should definitely be under their public officials. They should absolutely be under higher scrutiny than, say, private individuals. So, maybe this is not such a bad idea. Let's move on to our next story. Take a little look here at some AI features and stuff that's rolling out. Next year's Samsung Galaxy smartphones to feature live AI translation of calls. It is one feature among many coming with Galaxy AI that will debut with Galaxy S24 smartphones launching early next year. This discusses Samsung's flagship Galaxy smartphones and basically getting a lot of, some AI features here with the next launch kind of built into the devices. Expect much more of this as time goes on. Samsung seems poised to launch more AI features on its products. On Wednesday, the company unveiled its generative AI model called Samsung Gauss, which consists of language, code, and image models. Samsung said Samsung Gauss will be applied to various products in the future. Definitely interesting, definitely something to keep an eye on. As time goes on, we'll have more and more competition with large language models. We touched on Twitter's Grok the other day and the release of Grok. And you're seeing more and more LLMs that will compete with ChatGPT and Google's Bard and all of these Claude 2. So obviously more competition and more choice for consumers, definitely a good thing. And let's move on to the final story. This is the coolest and sort of my favorite thing that I've seen today. If you're into tech, you may have watched this TED Talk with Imran, if I said that right. He's really smart, and I think him and his wife, I guess, maybe left Apple, and they started this company called Humane. They are onto something really cool. There's a really cool video. We can put the link here in the notes. Let's scroll down here. Let's pull this up. Humane officially launches the AI Pin, its open AI-powered wearable. It's a gadget designed for interacting with large language models, not apps, and for talking instead of typing. But it's not yet entirely clear what you're supposed to use it for. On Thursday, after months of demos and hints about what the AI-powered future of gadgets might look like, Humane finally took the wraps off of its first device, the AI Pin. The device, as we revealed yesterday, is a $699 wearable in two parts, a square device and a battery pack that magnetically attaches to your clothes or other surfaces. In addition to that price, there's also the $24 monthly fee for a Humane subscription, which gets you a phone number and data coverage through T-Mobile's network. The company told Wired the device will start shipping in early 2024 and that pre-orders will begin November 16th. The AI Pin is powered by a Snapdragon processor, though it's not clear which one, and you control it with a combination of voice control, camera, gestures, and a small built-in projector. The pin itself weighs about 34 grams, and the battery booster adds another 20. The built-in camera takes 13 megapixel photos and will capture video as well after a software update. Unlike a device like the Rewind pendant, it's not meant to be always recording, and it's not even listening for a wake word. You have to activate the device manually by tapping and dragging on the touchpad. And the pin's trust light blinks to let you and supposedly everyone else know it's collecting data. The pin's primary job is to connect to AI models through software the company calls AI Mic. Humane's press release mentions both Microsoft and OpenAI, and previous reports suggested that the pin was primarily powered by GPT-4. Humane says that ChatGPT access is actually one of the device's core features. Its operating system, called Cosmos, is designed to route your queries to the right tools automatically rather than asking you to download and manage apps. Here's a little demo of what it looks like, because you can have the projector display on your hand. Gesture and motion can sort of go right, go left, go up, go back to home screen. You watch it as Imran interacts with this both in this TED Talk, but also there's this video here, and we'll post a link to this in the show notes. But very cool little video presentation here of
welcome to
Imran
Humane
and his wife Bethany, kind of showing off the device.
This is the Humane AI Pin. It's a standalone device and software.
So encourage you to watch that and check it out. On November 16th, I will be pre-ordering my AI Pin because I can't wait to get this out of the box and start playing with it. Let's take a look at a tweet I thought was interesting. This is my friend Michelle. There is no talk of price in El Salvador. Bitcoin price is all I see on Twitter this morning. Stop with the fiat conversions. Build something, fight for something, or STFU. We'll keep it PG, but you know what the acronym for that is. So I thought this was interesting. One of my favorite quotes is, by the time you're ready to, sell your Bitcoin, you won't have to. And that's kind of the way that many of us cypherpunks and privacy activists and people in Web3 and who are passionate about Bitcoin and crypto, how we feel, right? So I'm not buying Bitcoin or accumulating Bitcoin or saving in Bitcoin to essentially to sell it at some later point. I am pouring my work hours and my time and energy and life energy into this asset where I know that I'm protected and I can't sort of be debased simply by the math and the cryptography that protect the network. That's all I got for you guys today. Give us a follow on Twitter. I just started this at Runway Pod. We're going to try to build this channel up a little bit and put out some content. So stay safe, guys. Stay blessed. Never stop learning and keep an open mind. Thanks for listening. Have a good one.